Let's ask the baller. Longtime Fast Money friend, Brian Kelly, is back in the house. Can't get enough. Can't get enough of him either. Brian, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, obviously, you're long. You're very bullish.
Yes.
Has anything changed in terms of the trajectory of the move higher?
No, not really. I mean, certainly. So this move is really built on this anticipation of an ETF, probably January 5th to January 10th. So as it gets higher as a trader, of course, I'm going to get a little scared because you're saying how much of that is already priced in. We're getting pretty close to that. But in terms of the longer-term trajectory for Bitcoin, I think you just have to think of it as we're in this, let's call it 1 to 2 year bull market period. We'll have these pullbacks. Even in 17, when we had a massive run, we had months that it was down 30, 40%. So you just have to keep that in mind.
So January 5th to 10th, it seems like it's all downside. It's like you have the sell the news or the disappointment. So how do you position into that?
I mean, I think you're long going into it, and then you start layering out of it as you get towards the end of the year. So let's call it over the next week or so. At least that's the strategy we're going to employ.
Okay, and then the reaction, in sympathy from the other coin. I mean, will there be a sympathy move too?
Yeah, so generally what we've seen in bull markets is about a month after Bitcoin moves, it starts to go to the altcoins. So we saw Ethereum break out last night, and then Solana, and then it starts to go down the list. And so that's what I would anticipate, let's call it January or so.
BK, good to have you here. Say hi to Brian, by the way. A lot of this move has coincided or coincident with the fact that 5 rate cuts apparently are priced in for next year. Every time we pull them forward, Bitcoin seems to take a leg up. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I think it's a macro tailwind. We've been fighting the macro headwind for almost 2 years now, right? Rising rates, stronger dollar, all of that. The Fed's probably done. Europe has got a real problem on their hands. China's got a massive problem on their hands. And Japan is unlikely to tighten. So when I look at global liquidity, I think, yeah, short gold, Bitcoin, both of them are going to do well in this environment.
So, question about the halving. I've heard it called the halvening or the halving, but either one. We're getting to that in April, I think, right? Yep. And that's been a bullish thing before. I sort of wonder, is it the same thing, though? Is that already getting priced in, or is there something technical that actually happens that would make it be priced in closer to the event?
So, so what we've seen historically is that the 12 to 16 months after a halvening is the best performance of Bitcoin. So that's what everybody's thinking about. This time might be different because the price of Bitcoin's higher. We now only have, I think it's 900 Bitcoin a day that come out, so that gets cut in half. It's not a lot of Bitcoin, but what it does do is it makes Bitcoin more scarce than gold. So for the first time in history, you have an asset that is more scarce than gold.
In what way more scarce?
Let's call it a stock-to-flow ratio. So the amount of Bitcoin mined every year divided by the amount outstanding, same with gold. And now there'll be, quote-unquote, less Bitcoin than gold mined on a relative basis.
All right. Now, BK, you sat in these seats for a long time on this desk as a Fast Money regular. And we know that you miss a lot of things about the show.
A lot.
But first and foremost, we know you miss Would You Rather.
Oh.
Well, who knows? We thought we would do a quick game of Would You Rather, which is America's favorite game, of course. Would you rather Bitcoin or gold?
Oh, Bitcoin. Yeah.
You're long both, correct?
I am long both. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. I mean, you got to bet on the fastest horse. I heard that once.
Next up, Japan or America? So DXJ, which you own, versus S&P 500.
Yeah.
Would you rather?
That's a great one. I think Japan. It's a little bit cheaper. Earlier in the cycle for them, they've raised wages, which haven't come quite through the economy yet. So I think Japan is a little bit better.
All right. And here's the last one. Dan or Guy?
What?
Wow. Can't I have a scoop of both?
With a little Karen on top, yes, absolutely. Anything for you, BK.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Good to be here.